Hey, my friend, does this time of year stress you out? Well, stick with me, and I'm going to share some tips on how to reduce or maybe even completely eliminate the stress. First and foremost is awareness and the understanding of the two main states of being. You have to honestly be willing to self-reflect, stand outside of yourself, right? And look at yourself from the outside in and be honest with how you are reacting to different situations or possibly overreacting emotionally to life situations. Once you get that understood, or once you start feeling more comfortable with reflecting on yourself, that's when the things start to change. And it allows you to change your state of mind, obviously understand these two different states of being much more clearly. And that's what we're going to do now. We're going to dive into the two states of being. And there's some that refer to them as like a powerful state or a primal state. There's so many different descriptors. Some will use energized or empowered, an empowered state that produces creativity, right? Others will use a disempowered, or maybe a reactive state that produces fight or flight responses. So really, there's only these two states of being. I like to refer to it as being like in flow, right? You're flowing with things, you're feeling creative, positive, energetic, all of those good things, or the opposite, which is the flounder mode. You're floundering in your thoughts, right? You're not clear, you're stressing, you're going through emotions that don't serve you, don't allow you to be creative. So it's really important, again, understanding these two states of being, because you cannot be in both states at the same time. Think about it. Can you be happy and sad at the same time? Can you be stressed and unstressed at the same time? No, you are in one or the other. And the quicker that you start realizing that we are in these different states, in all of these different emotions, again, stress, anger, fear, all of the things that you can think of emotionally wise that don't feel good. Okay, that's that flounder state, or what some will refer to as a primal state. And then you have the emotions, happy, excited, whatever you want to list as an emotion name that makes you feel good. Okay, so you have these two states of being, and you cannot exist in both at the same time. It's impossible. Don't believe me? Do your research, but you can't exist in both at the same time, okay? We have to realize, number one, that we have a choice to be in either state. Yes, and I know there are going to be circumstances that create these emotions, and we're human. Totally natural, right? So I'm not trying to teach you that you can avoid these emotions. No, we're human. You're going to be in these emotions at any given time, depending on any given situation or circumstance that's around us. But what I want you to understand is that you have a choice to remain in that emotion type, or that flounder or flow state. We have a choice. The quicker that you start realizing that there are these two states of being, then we can start, again, choosing to change the way our emotion is. So, right, we're going to experience these emotions. We really don't have a control on the emotions we're experiencing at that instant, right, depending on what caused it. But we do have the choice to reflect on ourselves and realize that I'm experiencing this emotion that doesn't make me feel good. So what do I do to change it, right? That's where the practice and the technique comes into is, again, we're human. We're going to experience these emotions, but how long do we stay in that flow or flounder state, right? That's the challenge. But the more, again, that we start self-reflecting on things and realizing what I'm experiencing, okay, that I do have a choice, right, to make a difference and make a change in how I'm feeling, then the quicker we do get ourselves out of that, say, that negative emotion, or that emotion that's not serving us, that's not creative. And that's where let's talk about that for a second again, and think about, and I'll use a couple examples. When we're in this flounder or primal state, think about how creative you can be, or how creative you've been in the past. Are you really creative in that state, or is your mind just thinking about survival or getting through that feeling that does not serve us and feel good, right? You can't. There is no creative side to you. But when you're in that flow state, or what some again call a powerful state, you are at your most creative side. That's when all the magic happens. We do things, we think about things, thoughts that really serve us, or like again, creativity, if we're trying to build our business. Again, so this is a really important subject within entrepreneurship, as well as really starting to understand these two states of being and how to step out of an emotional side, a flounder state that doesn't help us, because again, it's not going to help us create our business to the level or get the creativity and the changes and the problem solving that we need. Again, really working, self-reflecting on ourselves and how we're responding to different emotions, and then doing our best to quickly get out of that flounder or negative state. That is the challenge, and that's what I'm again challenging you as well, is to embrace this, understand it more, and this will make a major impact. So let's start with an example of one of my business partners. Actually, we were discussing business and how we're building out some different funnels and whatnot. And of course, obviously the discussion around holidays, Christmas time came up, and my partner was stating how frustrated and stressed out because there was folks coming over that weren't the typical folks that come over every year, whatever it was, right? And that she was having to cook for everybody, and she was really stressed out. And of course, I brought up this subject, right? And letting her know that, you have that choice to be stressed. And when you choose that, of course, everything that's revolves around being stressed and the different emotions, and actually what happens to your whole situation as you go through those holidays or through that time period of doing what you're not used to, is going to be stressed and is going to bring all kinds of different negative things to the situation. So if you flip it, and again, step outside of yourself, and what I was explaining to her is realize that, okay, well, you're making the choice already right now that you're stressed. But how about we flip it and say, hey, this is going to be an exciting time. This is going to be a challenge. And yes, I'm having to cook for people that I don't normally cook for, because probably where was the stress coming from? The stress was coming from the fact that she knew that she had to please these individuals, and what were they going to be thinking about her food? Was it going to be good enough? And that was what was bringing these stressful emotions to her. And when you flip it, and one, again, explain, is you really can't control that outcome. I mean, you're going to cook your heart out and cook what you can do, and the best is going to happen of your ability. And you can't tell them whether or not they need to like that food. So who gives a darn? That's on them. But we can choose the fact that activity is going to be enjoyable, and it's going to be a challenge, right? And then what happens, right, when we're in that more positive state or in that flow state? Well, your cooking is going to be better, for one, because you are in a different mindset. You're in a flow state. You're not in a flounder state or in a primal state. So they kind of go hand in hand. Well, I say kind of, they do go hand in hand. So the more we can start realizing the emotional state that we choose to be in, whether it's a flow or flounder state, which obviously we don't want to choose to be in a flounder state. We want to choose to be in that flow state, right? But that's going to affect the outcomes. Okay. And this, again, it has to do with really anything in life, and positivity and negativity. The more we remain over on that negative side, the more that's going to attract those kind of results, if that makes sense. So again, make that positive choice, that flow state choice, that having family over and these holidays is going to be an exciting time, is going to be a joyful, and this is what we waited for the whole year, right? Instead of flipping that switch and making it automatically a stressful situation. I think that's a big problem with the holiday seasons for everybody. When I'm out and about, I'm seeing everybody is just going at each other, right? And how do we make these changes? How do we get more emotionally intelligent? Well, this is one of these exercises that I wish everybody would work on, but hopefully you're watching me now, and this will help to where we start really making a choice, understanding that there's two states of being, that we do have a choice. Okay? We have that flow choice, where we have that flounder state that, again, we want to get away from. Quicker that we observe it, look at ourselves, see how we're reacting, the quicker we learn how to get out of those states and move on. And again, these emotions are going to come up. We're human. We don't have a choice on them coming into our bodies, into our minds, right? But we do have a choice on how quickly we exit that flounder or primal state. We have a choice. We can get back over into a positive and flow state. Let's take an example of my past history where I was really big into grappling. Our whole family was really doing a lot of this stuff, and I grew up doing the mixed martial arts type of sports, right? Judo, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, all this kind of stuff, and fighting. So this is a great example of how well these different categories will serve somebody. But when I was grappling and doing some competitions, I had a really tough time with staying out of that flounder or primal state. You might be thinking right in the back of your mind, well, yeah, that's normal, right? We have this sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, and they're there for, again, that fight or flight response. And if you're, in combat sports, then shouldn't you be in this primal or fight type of survival mode? Well, not really. I mean, that existed when we were back in the early days of humans, right? To get away from, obviously, things that wanted to eat us. And yes, obviously, in certain fighting situations, and you're allowing your body to kind of subconsciously take over. But whenever you work on being a trained athlete or a trained human mindset-wise, it doesn't serve you as well as what some people might think, okay? So like, again, back in the example, whenever I was competing and I would be basically stepping out onto the mat, ready to go through the competition, I didn't do a good job at that younger stage of my life of controlling that flounder or primal state. And so what would happen is, yes, I had obviously all the training things that I did, that would kind of automatically in autopilot work, but they didn't work as well. And I would find myself, because I was so stressed out and anxious, that my muscles just they wouldn't flow like I would when I was in the practice room, right? And I wasn't worried about the points or getting choked out or whatever it may be, right? So, and that's like on a higher level when you think about these extreme athletes that are fighting in the UFC and whatnot. If you go into that cage and you're angry or you're overly stressed out and overly nervous, and obviously some of that's going to be there, but again, it goes back to how quick can I get myself into more of a relaxed state, into a creative state, right? Into a flow state. So if I go into that cage and I'm all pissed off or I'm all really nervous and I'm scared, okay, my muscles and my nervous system is not going to respond in the way that it needs to at a high level. I'm going to get myself hurt. Okay. In that case, I'm better to take off and run, but that's not part of the competition, right? That's not what we're there for. We're there to compete and see how our skill sets compare. So if I work on being more in that flow state and I'm stepping in that cage and I'm getting nervous, but I'm working on it to control it and get myself back into a confident, creative state, well, then when the bell rings, right, and we're out there and we're going, now my body is flowing and it's responding, and the moves and everything that I've trained so much for are coming to me in a very creative manner, right? And I'm able to slow things down and pick my shots and do the things that I've learned how to do in a very flow-like manner. And I'm going to be more successful. Now, obviously, I'm combating against another individual that maybe they're doing that better than me. But the point is at least I'm taking my abilities to the highest level. And most likely the outcome is going to reflect on that. And that's the same way in everyday life, is the quicker that we get ourselves out of these anxious and anger and frustrated states of being, the quicker that we can be more creative and loving and helpful to those around us and to our businesses. It just makes a world of difference, right? And I think this is something that hopefully that you're learning this, that you can help this with your friends, your family, your kiddos if you have them, is understanding these two states of being. And as we go through life, the quicker that we can recognize and step outside of ourselves and realize that we're staying over in this bad state of being that doesn't feel good and doesn't serve me, the quicker that we can realize and get ourselves clicked back over to a flow state or powerful state, the better, again, everything is going to work out for us. And again, more things are going to happen for us that are very positive and whatnot. Those are probably the two best examples that I can think of. Just really understanding that, especially in the business world, this is extremely important, because going through entrepreneurship, if you're an aspiring entrepreneur, you're a seasoned entrepreneur and you haven't grasped this yet, it makes a major difference, because there's a lot of obstacles in building a business or, creating your own living situation and income. There's a lot of issues that happen, a lot of roadblocks, a lot of things that are very difficult and challenging for us. And the quicker that you realize that, again, being stressed out, anxious is not serving you, the quicker that more creative thoughts will come to you. So again, it's a challenge. It's something we're always working on, that I'm definitely always working on. And again, those emotions are not going to go anywhere. It's just, how do we leverage them the proper way and get rid of the ones that don't serve us, right? And hopefully that helped you out. Please hit that subscribe button if you are digging the content, because it really, really helps this old dude out. And also, feel free to drop some comments or share your thoughts. It's, really important to engage with our supportive community, because your opinions and your experiences and insights, they're all extremely valuable. And this is what helps me to keep doing content, helps us to learn together, and, really helps us to create a unique escape plan, right? And live our best lives. So thanks for joining me on this video. And remember, you are never too old or never too young, depending on who's watching, to get started on this path to freedom. You just got to get started. I love you guys.